Welcome to Progressive Spiritualist Church to everybody, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I've been thinking about gratitude a lot lately, and what does, to me, what does gratitude mean? And I believe that this was precipitated by a conversation that I heard Stephen Colbert have with Paul Simon when they were talking about how did they come to whatever their belief is. And Stephen Colbert said that he believed himself to be an atheist for most of his early life until one day he was struck by gratitude. And the way in which he said it to me was, it wasn't like I stood there and said, gee, I'm thankful I have a job. It was, he got this gratitude, this thankfulness for existing, for being here, which then started me thinking about what do I mean when I say I'm grateful. So that was kind of my thought I want to pass on to all of you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I want to give first a shout out to the beautiful decoration. It is so lovely. And also let's send some energy to Veronica, who is kicking off a campaign thing today. Madam Senator. So let's send her all kinds of good energy for what the good hard work that she's doing. So today I'm working with my master teacher, Master Thomas, who is stepping up here to help me out with this sermon today. And I want to talk about St. Patrick's Day. All right, now here's the interactive part. What are some of the things we know about St. Patrick's Day and St. Patrick? What?
Snakes.
Four-leaf clover, snakes, driving the snakes out of Ireland. What else? Beer. Good luck. Huh? Yeah, exactly. That's the snakes, the pagans.
Thank you.
Isn't that interesting?
He's not from Ireland.
He's not from Ireland. He's not Irish. Interesting that a saint gets connected with beer, right? I think over the years, the whole idea of St. Patrick himself, either the real man or the legend, has been lost, and now it's just a party. And that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I found it interesting that St. Patrick's Day is one of the holidays that is celebrated worldwide in all kinds of different ways. And I think it's interesting that which religious celebrations get adopted by a lot of people. How many of you celebrate Diwali? How many of you are reserving Ramadan? Exactly. So we take the ones with the beer, right? We're not stupid. We are not as stupid people. So the whole idea of St. Patrick's Day has kind of morphed into a party with a green river and green beer and Irish music, and that's fun. That's fun. But let's talk about St. Patrick. St. Patrick, the 5th century. Just a little overview. When he was 16, he was kidnapped from England and brought to Ireland, where he lived about 7 to 10 years as a slave in Ireland. Then he goes back to England. Somehow he gets back there. You know, the minute details of this story are not important. And after he leaves, at some point, he gets this message from God to go back to Ireland and convert everybody to Catholicism. To drive the snakes out of Ireland. Do you know there are not snakes in Ireland? It's too cold. But of course, that is a metaphor for the Druids and the pagans and those nature-based religions. It is said that St. Patrick explained the Trinity using a 3-leaf clover, which is probably not true. A lot of things. And, it said that he kind of wandered the land being peaceful. And he did some subversive things, but for the most part, it just seems to be this lovely, gentle conversion from paganism to Catholicism. And just a note, St. Patrick was not revered in his time. That came later, right? A prophet is not respected in his own town. That's what Jesus said when he goes home and he can't do too many miracles because of all the doubters. And he's like, tough crowd. You are not honored in your own town. Because it's like, we knew you when you were a kid. What are you doing? So there's the story, basically, of St. Patrick, how he converted Ireland to Catholicism. But they aren't all Catholic now, are they? And there are the troubles, the terrible civil war in Ireland between the Catholics and the Protestants. But let's think of the other side of the story. The other side of the story. Put yourself in the place of a druid or a pagan who has a beautiful, beautiful religion, and somebody is trying to tell you it's wrong. There's the other side of the story. Now, I understand a lot of people, in paganism and in Druidism, there are a lot of different gods and goddesses, and they thought, well, okay, here's just one more. Fine with us. So I don't think St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland as much as he drove them underground. Because as we all know, pagan religions have survived. The other side of the story, the Crusades, where we're bringing Christianity to everybody, and if you don't believe it, we're going to kill you. Ooh, there's a way to share a loving religion. The other side of the story. Remember when we were in school, Columbus discovered America, yay, and everybody was happy. Unless you were Native American. And you were decimated. Westward expansion. More decimation of the native people. History is told through the eyes of the victor. Always. Always. Even the Holocaust, because the concentration camps were uncovered, and the United States emerges victorious in World War II. If it had not been for that, would we have heard the other side of the story? If Germany had won, we might never know about that. And we all might be speaking German right now. So I started thinking about the other side of the story. And so there is that in all of history. There are two sides to everything, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Everybody's own point of view. And so what I want to ask you today is, what is the other side of your story? Think of the things that you've gone through in your life. And I especially want to go back to when you were younger or even older, when there has been something that has affected you, that you carry that around. Think about what your tribe taught you. What's the other side of that story? In the great musical South Pacific, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote a song called You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. And it is about bigotry. And this is just a couple of verses from that. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. What other things in your childhood, in your relationships, were you also carefully taught? that are not true. So many times we carry around the scars of those traumas. And it's a natural thing to do. Of course it is. But did your parents teach you? Were they able to teach you? That's the most important question. Because the sins of the father, right? They're just visited on generation after generation, and it is that family dynamic. And I would suspect that there are very, very, very few parents who consciously and willingly set out to damage their children. But as they are damaged, so they damage others. That's the cycle. That's the way it is. And until someone looks at the other side of the story and says, is that really the truth? Am I that? Am I worthless? Am I in the way? Am I stupid? Am I incapable? And what happens is that no one says those exact words to you in that way, but it isn't how you are treated. Isn't that right? And we internalize that stuff. We internalize it because as a child, you cannot comprehend your parents as children and what they learned. But when you get to be a grown-up, you don't have that excuse anymore. God gave you a brain. Use it. Think with it. What are the things that you have learned throughout your life that are detrimental to you becoming the whole individualized person that you were meant to be? What is holding you back? What is the other side of the story that you can tell yourself? And we love, love, love to believe the negative things. That's our favorite thing to do. We like to be small. And Marianne Williamson, remember, she tells us that doesn't do anybody any good. Your playing small doesn't help. Play big. You are big. We are all big. We are all big lights that shine, and there's no reason to be ashamed of it. Somebody's going to tell you you're too big for your britches. Somebody's going to tell you you're pretentious. Well, they won't tell you. They'll tell you they'll tell other people behind your back. Or you're crazy, or you're delusional. Okay, fine. People are going to talk about you anyway. Give them something to talk about. Don't make them make it up. There's something about us that makes us fearful to shine. Is it? I don't know. We've all got it. We've all got imposter syndrome, which is terrible. You know, some of the most incredible people in the world are like, really me? Let's give that up. Let's stop the imposter syndrome thing. But we love those negative things. I don't know why that is. Because it creates drama, maybe. I mean, most of us grew up in families where there was some kind of drama. And for some people, that's their comfort zone. Comfort zone. Let's not have comfort zones. Let's have light zones. And exploratory zones. And make a fool of yourself zones. Yeah. Who cares? Who cares if you make a fool of yourself? Most of the time, when you do something really stupid, Jim, remember that time I came out of the bathroom at the old building and my skirt was tucked into my pantyhose and you were kind enough to tell me? Do you remember that? No. I do. Because once what might be an embarrassment with a little bit of time becomes an amusing dinner story. It builds to your repertoire. Let's be colorful characters. Let's just be us. Let's just be who we are. There's no reason to be afraid of that. Another thing that St. Patrick is credited for is something called St. Patrick's breastplate. And it's a really long prayer. Really long. But this is the most familiar, and some of you may have heard this. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arrive, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. And if we use our metaphysical knowledge, we understand that Christ is not the man Jesus. Christ is spirit. Christ is that energy that surrounds us. Christ is the infinite intelligence. And so in that bit of that prayer, I would so much agree that that's where spirit is, all around us. And one thing we have to admire St. Patrick for, and also Jehovah's Witnesses, people who go door to door. I'd never do that in a million years. When they come to my door, I just go, oh, I'm Jewish. Then they go away and they don't come back. But St. Patrick got this message from Spirit. And right or wrong, he believed it. And with this prayer surrounding him, with this energy surrounding him, he went out and did something very difficult. Very, very difficult. But because he believed in himself, obviously, he got over being a slave. And sometimes we are slaves to those things that go on in our heads. Our mother's voice, our father's voice, our teacher's voice, our ex-spouse's voice. And we give them too much space and we let them live there. And they don't need to. We need to surround them with love and let them go and know that they were struggling with their own demons. And I wish I knew what I know now when I was bringing up my own kids. I just figured if I did the opposite of my mom, it would be okay. And it did kind of work out that way. But had I known what I know now, oh, what I could have given them. They turned out really good. So it's imperative. It is imperative to believe in yourself. It is imperative to understand that you have talents and you have gifts and they're there to share. Emma Bombeck talks about showing up in heaven all a mess and going, woo, what a ride. I used everything you gave me. I used everything you gave me. What do you have that you're not using? What do you have that you are hiding under a bushel? What do you have that if you brought it into the light, it would be glorious? And you know what that thing is you. Honest you. Not you fitting in. Not you doing what the rest of the crowd does. We aren't lemmings. We will not all jump into the sea. Some of us will, because we're not very bright, and we will love the experience, but we all don't have to do that. I'm sure you all heard, well, if they jumped off the bridge, would you too? That's my mother's voice. We don't have to be anybody but who we are. And sometimes digging those voices out, digging those experiences out is very difficult and very traumatic, but worth every tear, effort that it takes to unroot that so that you can be who you are. And because you are all sitting here in this congregation today and on Zoom today with us, that's your message. It may not be a message for anyone else, but it is certainly a message for each and every one of you to be exactly who you are. Become who you already are. No fear. Speak up. Step up. Do. No matter how goofy it seems to other people. If you want to skydive, skydive. Do you want to give messages on the platform? Work on it. Give messages from the platform. If you want to write a book, do it. You know what? If you want to have sit and stare time, where you just sit and stare, do it. It's fine, but be honest to yourself. Don't be what people expect you to be. Oh, be unexpected. Be amazing. Be glorious. Because that's who you already are. And if you take nothing else from what I've said today, take that away. How glorious and so perfectly made every one of you is. So we want to leave you today with an Irish blessing. May you be in heaven 15 minutes before the devil knows you're dead.
Thank you. Blessed light of love, thank you for your presence with us today. Thank you for the messages that we've received, things that we have learned, things that we will take with us as we go on our daily lives. We ask now that the veil between both worlds be closed until the next time we are gathering in your sight. Amen.